Alright.
Welcome to Diving Deep.
Sorry.
I was excited.
I'm Rajesh.
And I'm Kirti.
And this is where we talk about topics in society that are often overlooked.
Today, we're not drinking coffee.
No. Wow. What a surprise.
Yeah, I didn't get Starbucks today.
We beat the stereotype today.
Mm-hmm.
Congrats.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, we got a little soundboard thing going on now.
Yeah, we have so many little sound effects and I'm so excited. I'm literally so excited.
Yeah.
But I don't know how much we're really going to be using them today because we're talking about parenting.
Ooh. Psych.
I was gonna press something, but I was like,
I don't know.
Yeah, I think like with experience you'll figure out like which ones make more sense.
Yeah.
With the situation.
Also like
Wait.
the names of them and stuff.
Just do the parenting. Say that all again.
Okay. Today we're going to be talking about parenting. Why is there such a delay?
Okay, I'm sorry.
Third take.
Oh my god, there's an ad. Okay, sorry.
Third take.
I don't know.
Oh no, the ad's gone now.
Okay.
Today, we're going to be talking about parenting. We'll get there eventually.
I pressed it.
I know. We'll figure it out. It's okay. It's not your fault.
Okay. Don't fire me, please.
We can't.
Yeah.
We have no one else to
Yeah,
do this.
Just kidding. We got so many people lined up.
Yeah, you know, a lot of people want the job, so.
I'm just kidding.
Okay.
Hello?
Oh.
Whoa.
Did we all just get it
That was
at the
funny.
same?
No, I didn't. That was you and your laptop.
Oh.
What a chaotic start.
Okay. We're ready to begin.
Okay. Should we go from start or should we go from the middle?
No, we'll like
Okay.
start with the topic.
Okay.
We've already talked about that it's parenting.
Yes.
And we wanted to talk about it because I think parenting is so interesting. There's so many different ways you can go about it. There's so many different styles of parenting. So many ways that I've been parented that has formed who I am today.
Mm-hmm.
And today we're going to be diving into that.
Yeah, it's a very complicated subject.
Yeah, because we're not parents.
Yeah, and raising a human child is crazy.
That's crazy to
And
me.
wild.
But I even asked my parents a couple questions and Krista asked their parents a couple of questions.
I also asked my mom a couple questions.
Yeah, so they were kind of talking about it like it's nothing, to be honest.
Well, I guess they have experience.
Yeah, I know, but it was just kind of to me, I was like, damn. My mom was telling me how she didn't even feel pressure to be the perfect parent.
Mm-hmm.
And she wasn't really that worried about it.
Yeah,
Mhm.
we'll get into all
Yeah.
of their experiences and stuff.
But first of all, I want to talk about the different type of parenting styles, and I want to discuss with you guys where you think you lie in this range. In this, what do you call it's like a like this.
T-chart?
The board, like the quadrants.
The quadrants.
The 4 quadrants.
We'll insert a picture.
Yeah.
Wait, I don't get it though.
I guess it's from psychology.
Yeah.
Oh,
So-
it's okay. Never mind.
But we'll insert a picture, and the picture will make sense.
But is it widely accepted as the universal form of these are the categories of parenting, or is it just something that Western society has made?
I don't. Girl, I don't know. I don't live anywhere else.
That's a great question though.
That is a great
Yeah, I
question.
don't know.
I didn't think about that.
Yeah, but
But regardless.
these are the 4 parenting styles that we have learned. And obviously, you could have a mix of both. You could have, I don't know, an in-between.
Yeah, it's usually mixed.
Yeah. So, first of all, we have permissive parents. And these are people who rarely give or enforce rules. They're kind of just they don't care, really. Oh, no, wait.
No, permissive parents to me, what I thought was they have so much love for the kid and they just allow them to do whatever they want.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Without any consequences or any boundaries.
Yeah.
You just sort of let the kid walk all over you.
They're like super like warm
and
accepting.
Yeah.
And I guess they just don't demand a lot.
Yeah.
They're more so lenient because they're like, I just love my kid so much. Yeah.
I've actually met these kinds of parents.
Yeah, me too.
Like, it's scary. And
yeah, because the child just ends up doing whatever.
Yeah, and the child like controls the parents. Like,
yeah, it's kind of scary. It's like manipulation.
You know? Yeah, and I don't know if I should get too detailed, but basically there are some situations where, like, when the child interrupts two parents talking, the parent just gives all their attention to the child, no matter what the subject is. Like, even if it's super serious, right?
Yeah.
So it's sort of just, and then once the child is okay, then you go back.
Yeah,
it's like you gotta
like
put
priorities
some sort of
and like the boundaries and the rules.
Yeah.
Where are they?
What I think about is like when you see like a kid in a like a grocery store or something and they're having a tantrum and they're like freaking out and because they want something and their parents like doesn't know what to do and aren't disciplining them properly and just be like, well, have this instead.
They just like give it to them.
It's just painful to watch.
Or like making their child like to get them to stop crying, giving them something.
Yeah,
that they're begging for.
We're also like not parents, but so it's sort of weird to like judge them. But
yeah,
also, I don't think you're supposed to do that.
like definitely not. Because it doesn't lead to like a good child. I'm assuming.
That child sucks.
Because
I hate
the
that
child is that kid sucks.
He does. Like, god damn. Okay, sorry.
Yeah. So, permissive is one of them. Then there is neglectful. Doesn't have any affection really. It's more so just like unaccepting of the child, super cold. Kind of doesn't care what it does, like indifferent to their needs, and provides like little to none guidance.
Not cool.
Nuh-uh.
Sucks.
Yeah. Boo. We don't have a boo sound effect, do we? For real.
Yeah, no, seriously. So then we have authoritative parents. These ones are what parents should be in terms of like, you know, there's some obviously different ideas of what a parent should be, right? But this one is kind of known as like the ideal because the parents who are authoritative make the best children. They raise their children the best. They're super warm and affectionate, but they also give enough like expectations and set clear rules. So they have open communication and give consequences to the child, but they're also showing them that they still love them and everything. So it's kind of like a balance. Yeah,
I think usually giving consequences is a form of love. You just shouldn't overdo it.
Yeah. It's like it's a balance, right? And then lastly we have authoritarian. Super cold, super unaccepting, super demanding.
Yeah. Not
as much focus on the child, but more so like strict rules, parent driven, little consideration of the child's, I don't know, needs and wants, I guess.
It's like you're very attached to the child and you pretty much place your expectations on them.
Yeah, I guess you could say just like super, super strict parents, but also just not very like loving and affectionate either.
Yeah, but you are still very involved with them. Yes. Unlike neglectful ones.
Yes. Yeah. So we have these 4 quadrants, I guess. And which one do you guys think your parents are most like? If you're okay with talking about that.
I mean, I feel like they're pretty authoritative. I feel like there's also the whole new, before we get into that, I feel like it's a whole new like trend of like gentle parenting.
Yeah, I've been hearing about gentle parenting.
I guess it's not a trend, but it's another type of parenting.
I've heard that term a lot more recently.
So that's also interesting too. And many people have like the view that gentle parenting is just regular parenting. Because that's how you're supposed to parent.
Yeah.
Gently.
Yeah, and like treat your child like a human being.
Yeah.
So.
Isn't it it's just parenting.
Yeah. I mean. So it's sort of, it's a cool little, it's a new thing, you know?
Yeah. I do feel like my parents are authoritative too and have been. Kind of just open communication. They gave me rules and sometimes that really, really sucked because I was like, well, all my friends are doing this.
Yeah.
But looking back, like I like understand because I feel like they would at least tell me a reason as to why they don't want me doing something or going somewhere, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's where that open communication came from, and that's why I'm so open with my parents.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I feel like I had clear rules, expectations, natural consequences. So yeah.
Yeah, and for me, like, I know that my dad is definitely authoritative, and both my parents are, because whenever my brother and I would go to like a store and I'd ask for a Kit Kat, like we both knew it would be a no. Like,
No. Don't even ask. I'd be preparing myself, man.
Like, after a certain point, like I just learned that okay, my dad's gonna say no, so there's no point. So then there was like a chain of command. So I would ask my brother first, do you think this is plausible, right?
Yes.
And we both be sitting in the cart, in the trolley cart. Like that's how small we were. And then my brother's like, okay, I think it's plausible, but we need to go by mom first.
Yes.
So then we go through mom, and then if mom says it's okay, and if she asks my dad, then it's a definite yes, because he'll do what my mom, you know, he'll
yes.
That
the
was
whole sibling making a little plan.
Yeah, it's a chain, chain of command.
Yeah, you know, if I ever want like McDonald's or something, I'll be like, so do you think we should? Maybe there's like a deal today or something.
Yeah.
And usually I ask, so sometimes I ask my brother, I'm like, well, you should ask today, okay?
Right.
Like they'll say yeah, because you never ask.
Yeah.
It's like a whole plan.
Exactly.
Because we know.
If you just ask straight up, it's gonna be a no. It's gonna be a no.
Sometimes it's not though. Sometimes they surprise. Because in my head, my parents have taught me there's no.
I never got a Kit Kat, man. I'm not gonna.
Well,
I probably did. I probably have like that negative memory of just not getting it.
Never having a Kit Kat ever. No, in my head, my parents have taught me no harm in asking, you know? So that's why I just always ask, but every time we go out now, I'm like, so, can I have an ice cap? Wow. And they're like, oh!
But still do it? Or?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think once you get older, like, it's probably less of a thing.
Yeah, they're like, well, they're like, she knows what she's doing. Yeah. She knows she's having a caffeine problem.
Yeah. I think,
this is for maybe later, but I have a question for you guys since you both have siblings, and you're also the youngest. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but if that affects parenting, but that's for later.
I think it definitely affects parenting.
Definitely,
That's a good point. That's good.
But also the fact that it's two boys and then a girl and a boy.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I was parented differently because I am a girl.
Do you have siblings?
No.
No. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, but that probably affected it too because I don't know. I was like the main focus, but I was also like the cause of the blame sometimes. So it goes both ways. But
yeah.
I was probably spoiled as a.
Yeah, I do think siblings and having like no siblings affects greatly on that.
Mm-hmm. I think especially the fact that I'm a girl.
Yeah.
Has like changed the way I'm parented too, because I think my dad was a lot more nicer to me. Not that he's like he was ever like super mean to my brother, but I feel like I was given like I was given more leniency almost.
Same. My brother definitely got more hits. For sure.
The hits is crazy. Yeah, that's another
But it's like a traditional thing.
Yeah, you know, the culture.
Not gonna lie.
Yeah, I mean.
But it wasn't bad.
It wasn't like yeah.
So like, what are you doing?
Yeah, just a little like.
Yeah, my dad would always be like, "Don't do that," or he'd look at me and just do that, and I'd be like, "No."
Oh, my dad would like go like this, and then he hit his thigh. So like.
Oh my mom did that, but as a joke.
Yeah. Well, that was
Sorry, that came off weird.
Yeah, my brother has been, you know, hit before, but not like in a super traumatizing way, I think. Yeah. I mean, he has a pretty good relationship with my dad now.
Yeah, he's dope.
Yeah.
Dope.
But me, on the other hand, I wasn't ever hit.
Nice.
And I feel like part of good job. And I feel like as my parents have like, you know, changed throughout the years and, you know, raised us into who we are today, I asked my dad one day, I was like, so do you think it's ever right to hit a child? And he was like, well, it depends. But then he was like, actually, nah. I don't really think so. just thinking about it for a second, because it's like a cultural thing.
Yeah.
Weirdly.
Yeah.
Because they used to do it in like schools too in India, I believe.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
You got hit with the
Rulers
on your knuckles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Owie.
Yeah.
And then you gotta like, well, I guess it's like physical punishments. Like you just gotta like stand up and raise your hands for the whole class. Or whatever, something like
Really?
But like,
Yeah.
yeah, there's like just stuff like that.
Wow.
that. Oh, yeah. But it wasn't the whole class. It was just like 5 minutes on the.
Yeah.
Some kids are probably jacked by it.
But like it starts hurting like for real.
Yeah,
Though. It's crazy.
I'm sure it does.
Wow.
It's just like torture though.
But,
like they
yeah.
don't really do that anymore. I don't think.
No, also like after moving here, I think just like the culture of treating your kids properly and treating your kids in a very respectful way, like it changed like even the way I saw parenting. Because before I was like, yeah, you're supposed to hit kids or something like that.
Yeah,
you know?
I mean like that's the way you gotta discipline them.
Yeah, like there's no other way to do it. And then I come here and I'm like, wait, there are some other ways.
Because the thing is, like, I can understand. I mean, I can't understand, but I know what the perspective is of like a person who's like, oh yeah, like hitting is fine. Like I get that they're like, oh well, you know, it'll make sure that they don't do that behavior again.
Mm-hmm.
But also it instills a fear in the child. Like you should never feel scared of your parents.
Yeah.
Right? Or like your guardian.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like that's not they won't do that behavior again, but first of all, will they understand why? Probably not. And then secondly, they're just going to be scared, and then they're going to be even more secretive with you because they're going to be scared that they're going to get like slapped the next time they do it.
It's all about.
It's not beneficial in any sense.
There's no bond anymore. It's like attachment is sort of removing attachment.
Yeah.
And it's about like we learned in psychology, like the whole positive punishment versus positive reinforcement.
Yeah.
Right. And like rewarding good behavior instead of punishing bad behavior.
Yeah.
So there's a whole thing for that. But yeah, that's the style.
We
of
should
parenting.
talk about that. I completely forgot about that.
Yeah.
Well, rewarding good behavior,
Mm-hmm.
not punishing the bad. Is that what they talk about? I completely forgot the whole like.
Well, yeah, like instead of sort of bringing a bad experience and sort of instilling fear, you want to reinforce the good behaviors. And I don't know what they do to the bad behaviors. Like, to be honest, because that's my question. Like, whenever a kid is throwing a tantrum, like for example in a grocery store, right, and they want they want this chocolate. I always ask myself, like, what would I do in the situation as a parent? My first instinct would be like, no, kid, don't do that. Like, I'm not gonna give you that chocolate.
No, kid.
But if they just keep like being like a bad kid and like crying,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Then what do you do? Like,
Well,
do you not want to stop that crying as soon as possible?
In my head,
Not be embarrassed.
it's like not be embarrassed.
yeah, because you're literally
Yeah.
But
everyone's staring at you.
yeah. My first thought of action, okay, when a kid is crying in a grocery store.
Your kid.
I'm the kid?
No, your kid is crying in the grocery store.
Oh,
Not
yeah.
some kid.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
I'm not just like disciplining
Yeah.
any random kid.
Yeah.
Y'all know what I'm saying.
Yeah,
They know. My own kid, for example.
Yeah.
I am thinking distract with something else. I'd pick up one of their toys because I probably brought one of their toys with me. Like one of the little ones that make little noises.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, whoa, look at this guy. Look at the noises. Yeah, exactly.
What if the kid's too old for that?
Well, then he's too old to be crying over the fact that he wants a Kit Kat.
True. Good point. But do you think he's gonna know that?
I think so.
Oh yeah, you're right. I am too old. Okay.
I have some. Okay, my mom has told me about this because I've asked her about parenting before, and she was like, "Well, when I'm taking you somewhere, like even when you were a kid, like if we go into the city or something like that, I always make sure that we're gonna do something that you want to do. So like maybe I wanted to go to a park that day, and she'd be like, "Okay, we're gonna go to the grocery store, and then we'll go to the park, and then after the fact, we're gonna go get something from this." Store and then we'll go home. So then there's like a reason for why I'd be there and why I'd want to spend time there and stuff like that. So I think it's important to involve your kids in the everyday activities instead of just like dragging them there and then when they're like, I want a Kit Kat, you could be like, well, we're going to the park later. So
Right. It's like a reward for your good behavior.
yeah.
Right?
If you be good in the grocery store, then maybe when we go to the park we'll get a ice cream or something.
Sure.
Yeah.
You know?
Sure. Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, that's a
Good
good
point.
idea.
Good point. I like it.
I like that too.
Shout out to Connie.
Yeah.
She
Yes.
For
listens
real.
to this podcast.
We love
For
you.
real. Awesome.
Thank you.
Real one.
Okay.
You're just gonna love that. You're like, I love you talking. Exclamation mark! Exclamation mark.
Oh. Okay.
Sorry.
Authoritative. What about you?
What do you think your parents were like?
Honestly,
I think also authoritative. But I think just these 4 quadrants makes it. I wish there was more.
Isn't it simplified? I feel like it's too simplified.
That's why they have the quadrants though, because it's like a range. You know, like they have a scale of warm and accepting to cold and accepting. And unaccepting, I mean. And then you can kind of like put yourself based on like.
That's fair.
Like if you're super on this side.
Actually, I don't think it's fair for it to just have 4 quadrants.
Like,
I mean, obviously there's a mix and there's like a.
No, I'm
overlap.
saying I think they're just the fact that there's only 2 factors, like cold or warm, and accepting and unaccepting, is too low.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Like just those 2 factors.
Yeah, I think the thing is like when you're trying to figure this kind of stuff out, it's you want to put it in boxes.
Yeah.
You know, because I can totally see there being 4 of these, but I can also like see a mix of them, and you know, sometimes different periods of your life you have different kinds of parents. Like your parents are also learning as they go, right?
Yeah.
So maybe they're like neglectful at first, and then they turn into an authoritarian or a permissive, whatever, right? So I feel like they do it to make this easier.
Yeah.
But I just thought it was interesting to even just look at it because I don't know, it helped me.
It's a good way to visualize it.
Yeah, it's a good way to visualize, but it is super narrowed down, I guess. I don't know.
Like, it restricts you for a certain way. Yeah.
I just feel like it's not really fair to parents because like only really one is like positive, and the rest of them is like if you're authoritarian,
neglectful, or permissive.
Or authoritative.
Yeah, if you're like authoritarian, permissive, or uninvolved, then you're like those are all negative.
Yeah.
And then the only one, like good one is authoritative. Authoritative? Yeah. So I don't know. I think, and also it depends on the day, you know. Like
it's definitely more complicated than it is for sure.
Yeah.
I think also speaking of experience and getting like a parent being more like a parent with more experience, I had a question. Do you need to be educated to be a good parent?
Educated in what way? Like educated on how to be a good parent?
No, like just like educated in the fact that like you have a degree or you went to school until like 12th grade or anything like that.
Okay, well, if we're talking about like...
I guess schooling is getting more and more universalized and like people are getting more access to it.
Yeah.
But even just the fact that some people may not be able to afford a degree, you know, or if they didn't go to university but they went to trade school, or they just didn't go in at all, or they went to a daycare.
Yeah.
And so, do you need to be educated to be a good parent?
I don't think so.
I agree. I don't think so.
Okay, good. I also agree. I don't think so.
Great. Yeah, we all agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
a
lot of what my mom has learned about parenting has been through like how she was parented and how like what she didn't like when she was a kid. So she was telling me how she puts into perspective like how I would feel before she does something, because she's like, well, I didn't like this when I was a kid, so neither would she, you know, like my daughter. So she's not really like she graduated, but she didn't go to college after the fact because she was just kind of like, I don't really know what I want to do. So she didn't. Neither did my dad, but I still think they were good parents.
Yeah, and I guess even to expand on that, do we need to read parenting books nowadays to be a good parent?
I had so much to say about this.
Yeah.
We'll be back.
We're gonna take a break.
Who wants to begin on parenting books?
Should I just say my mom wants to begin? Because I asked my mom about it.
Okay.
Wow. Sorry, I didn't expect you to ask her about parenting books. That's so exciting.
Well, she was like, I don't use parenting books because there wasn't a lot, and I asked her basically, how did you learn parenting, right? And she basically said that I did not learn parenting, and she said most of it was pretty much instinct, like when you see fire, you run, you know, and like animals don't need to be taught parenting, right? They just sort of get it,
yeah.
And she basically said that there are new methods that say how parenting should be taught. And she's basically saying that, like, regardless of what the statistics say, that's not you, though. It's the statistics parenting the kid and not you parenting the kid. So she thinks that it's super important for you to figure out on your own, and you don't need anybody else, that anybody can be a parent. And she said that. She was like, regardless of, like, financial abilities or anything, they're going to do their best ability to take care of the kid.
Yeah.
And as long as you're doing that, then you're golden.
Yeah. I was reading that book that I've been talking about, where The Myth of Normal, right? And he was talking about parenting books, like the author. He was talking about how there's so many different ways of parenting that nothing is ever going to be 100% correct.
Yeah.
And he talked about how he interviewed people who were so stressed about, parenting and not trusting their own ability, that they read these parenting books, but so many of them say different things. Obviously, there's some overlap there, but so much of it is completely based on what you want your child to be like. Because some people want to be more strict and kind of, make sure they don't go down the wrong path, and other people will make sure that other people will let their child take more mistakes or anything like that. Like, it's so different, and there's also so many aspects to parenting, I've realized. And I can't even begin to realize it either, like, exactly. I'm just a kid. I'm not a mother, but to me, in my head, I've always thought, like, I feel like I'd be stressing out, being like, well, what do I do? My kid's just, what if it turns out as a bad person?
Yeah.
But the parenting books aren't exactly going to help, because it's like everyone has different ideas and ideals of what they want their kid to be.
Yeah, and it's so...
And different methods, too.
Exactly.
One thing, like, kids are so different, too, right? Like, one thing that works for one kid, not going to work for the other.
Yeah.
Yeah, so my parents didn't do any parenting books either. They just kind of did it.
It's kind of vibe.
And also, I guess, like, in our, like, culture, too, it's more so people around you, like, everyone's helping you. Yeah. And everyone's telling you, like, what you should be doing to make sure your kid's safe.
Exactly. It's a like, tight-knit community, for sure.
Yeah, like, my grandparents raised me pretty much. So did my parents, obviously. But, like, when my parents were at work or something, my grandma was a big part of raising me.
Yeah. And
I think my parents have both learned so much from how they were raised and all that.
Exactly.
And I feel like at the point where when I'm a mother, I'll be thinking about what I liked that my mom did and what I didn't like.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
Yeah, I think there's two things that I realized when, like, thinking about this. The first thing is that parenting is so dependent on the surroundings of the child, right? And that's pretty obvious, but just the fact that what's surrounding the child greatly impacts not just the child, but also the way the parents parent the child, right? It's about, like, are you in a suburb? Are you around other kids? And also, like, your financial status really changes the way you interact with the kid.
Yeah.
And are you, like, working 24/7 that you don't have time to, like, look after the kid? Or are you, like, a house wife or husband or whatever, and you're just taking after the kid a lot?
Yeah.
And second thing is that I think nowadays there's a fear of being a bad parent, and that's, like, consuming people, and that's why they go into these parenting books, because they're so afraid of failing as a parent.
Yeah. I mean, I can only begin to imagine what that's like, because you created a child, and now it's under your responsibility to make sure that child is successful.
Yeah.
And some parents sadly just don't even care at all. And I still just want to mention that, because we're lucky to even be here talking about the fact that, like, our parents raised us and how we're, like, pretty happy with how we were raised. But I did want to mention that. But
I can't, like, fathom it, though. It's like,
I can't either, honestly. And it just...
I'm just, like, not open enough, but I just can't fathom, like, having a child and not caring about the child.
Yeah, I can't either. Like, I can't even begin to explain how, like, it just doesn't... I can't comprehend.
2 + 2 does not equal 5.
Like. Yeah, it's just... I can't. But, yeah, we're lucky to be sitting here talking about this.
Thanks.
But, what were we talking about? I had a point to this.
I was talking about, like, the fear of being a bad parent, so
Yes. Yes, they care so much.
Mm-hmm.
They're on the other end of the spectrum where they care so much that they're, I don't know, I guess they're not really thinking about what they want for their child at that point. They're thinking about what parenting should be like.
Yeah. What's the right way?
Yeah. Right. And I guess there is no right way because people parent in so many different ways.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when I was reading The Myth of Normal, they talked about, like, social, no, not social. They talked about, physical support in childhood. Mm-hmm. And they mentioned how there's this one indigenous group that didn't even let their child, like, you know, touch the ground until they were, like, 2 years old.
Wow.
Because the whole time they were just, like, physical affection is so important.
Right, contact. And
that's what they find to be good parenting.
Wow.
And I found that crazy.
Yeah,
I was like,
wild.
whoa. And people who don't get a lot of, like, physical support as a child, they become less attached to their mothers, less attached to their fathers.
Yeah.
And I just think that, like, culturally, especially, it's so different.
Yeah.
Because I know, like, the way of showing love as a parent, there's so many different ways. Mm-hmm. And I know sometimes Krista tells me some things that their parents have said to them, and I'm like, whoa, that's, like, so nice.
Yeah.
My parents show love through a different way. Not that they don't ever say anything nice.
There's, like, different, like, outlets and mediums.
Yeah, right? Like, there's different love languages. Like, I feel like my parents are more so, like, acts of service.
Yeah.
And, physical.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But, yeah. I feel like that also affects the kind of love language I have.
Yeah.
Since I didn't have a lot of words of affirmation, I'm more so, I want words of affirmation.
Yeah, and also you might be more inclined to use that as a love language for your kids.
Yeah.
Right? Because you're like,
I think I totally would.
Yeah.
Like, in my head right now, I totally imagine myself doing that because I know how it's been, how I felt when I don't have that, you know? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's a fair point. I think, I don't know how to segue into this, but, like, at one point was just like, I think it's so hard to be a parent because there's almost, like, no winning, because there are going to be times where your kids are going to be having tantrums that are irrational.
Yeah.
You know, and your kids are going to hate you for a bit. Like, you cannot always, like, win your kid over for some, like, when
yeah, I feel like I would, like, just, I would have such difficulty with this.
Yeah, exactly, because it's, like, sometimes you are going to be the bad guy in your kid's life.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's such a hard concept to grasp because you just want to show your love. And you just want to give them advice and stuff like that.
Yeah, and you probably, like, my dad was talking about this when I asked him about parenting. He was talking about how, like, he wanted to put us in, like, me and my brother, in the right direction. Mm-hmm. And he said, like, he sometimes just had to do things that we wouldn't understand at the time, but then later on, you know, he was like, well, you guys will get it eventually, you know, why we did this and why we did that, even if you didn't like it at the time.
Yeah.
And I could totally see that now, too, because all the times I'd be mad I couldn't go out at a certain time or go to this party, that party. I'm like, well, I'm fine. It was probably the right decision, right?
Thanks.
Yeah, there's so many... I think I would fear that for sure.
Yeah. And
I would want to give in to my child's needs just so I can, like, make them happy, you know?
Especially when they're, like, throwing tantrum, be like, I want this chocolate. Or maybe that's too superficial, but if they're, like, I really want to play with this kid or something like that.
Yeah,
you know?
Like, bro.
It's wild, so...
The amount of times, like, I don't know, just... I think especially when they're a teen, I will be at a point where I'm like, oh, they just want to go out and have fun with their friends.
Yeah.
But then I'm still battling this, like, I don't know if this is a good idea or is this too late?
Yeah.
You know?
And even, like, when I asked my mom, like, what's one of the most challenging parts of parenting, she said that making sure that your kids are emotionally and financially, like, safe, you know, from birth until, like, now, and sort of protecting them, but also having their trust.
Yeah.
And not like, she said, not giving them too much advice, you know, and letting them figure out what's up.
Like, get the consequences.
Yeah.
So, because I agree that the consequences, like, let them make mistakes, you know? That's how I see it right now.
Yeah. I feel like once you're a parent, though, it's gonna be so hard to not give advice about things.
Yeah, because we're speaking as if we
Yeah.
you know, we've been parents.
We know everything.
But yeah, I remember talking to like one of my psych teachers, and she was telling us about how like as a parent you have to consciously like try not to go full in and tell them everything and go crazy with the advice, because they do need to learn some of that stuff on their own.
Yeah.
And I completely agree, but it's probably a hard thing to swallow because you're trying to just do what's best for the kid, and you know that.
And it's so similar to having like a really close friend, and if you know that they're in a bad situation or something, then it's like, how much are you allowed to sort of interfere and like involve yourself, or how much you just let it play out, you know?
Yeah.
So, and I think that's a good segue into like parenting like friends, or whether like there's a parenting style where you just treat your kid like a friend.
Yeah, and I knew someone who had like a mom like that, who was just completely like their friend, and so was their father. And it was just like they were allowed to do anything. It was more so like a permissive parent, and they were allowed to do everything. I thought it was so awesome. I was so jealous at the time. And because I wasn't allowed to do so much. But looking back, I was just like, I think I just wanted that freedom, right? As any teen would want.
Sure.
But I do think it was a toxic thing, because I feel like this person was less inclined to like actually realize their mistakes, and it was more so like, my parent is my best friend, rather than, you know, my parent is my parent.
Yeah. There's a certain boundary to that, and I guess it depends on what kind of parent you want to be. I just feel like I really appreciate that boundary because I get more value for the things that I have freedom for. And I realize why they give me certain freedoms and when they do that.
Yeah.
For certain reasons. So I'm thankful that they care. I feel like they care enough to put boundaries for me. Yeah. And that's how I see it.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Yeah. I think the boundaries that I felt like my parents were strict for like a while.
Yeah. That's like the teen thing.
Like, yeah, I think I was just like, you know,
like,
I was in that that little.
Everyone else is doing it.
Yeah, no, literally.
Well, I'd have to be back, but like 10:30 or
yeah, but when I'm thinking about it, I think I was given like the right boundaries. Because I would want to be out like super late or something, and then my parents would be like, "You're like 13, girl."
I feel like that's such a hard thing to do, though. Like getting the balance of the right boundaries.
Because I'm sure, like I know my parents have told me before too. They're like they tell me that they don't like saying no because they know that my friends are doing it and they want me to have fun. Yeah. But at the same time, I'm young, you know, and they do have to just. Sometimes they have to put their foot down. Yeah. And I didn't like the rules sometimes, but you know, I think I'm glad those boundaries were there, and when a child crosses them, it's really hard to get that trust back from your parents, you know? And I've broken that trust before. And it sucks. Because then you're given more boundaries. And it's like, if you don't respect the boundaries that your parents put on you, it's gonna slap you in the face after.
Facts. Yeah, I've also broken that, and it's been a journey to like.
You have to build that back up.
Yeah, to sort of see it from their point of view too. Yeah. And you gotta earn it, you know.
You do. Yeah. And I think it's like valid, obviously. Yeah. And you know, it's taken a while to kind of do that again. Yeah. But I'm so glad. Like, and I'm glad they gave. The thing is, I have a relationship with my parents where it is like. They're not just gonna never give it back to me, you know? They're gonna trust me again. And I knew that. But I also knew that I couldn't just take advantage of that fact that they would just let it go eventually, you know? That's the kid's responsibility.
Exactly. And I feel like even as a parent, not me as a parent, but like if I were a parent, if my kid did something bad, there's always like thing behind my head, like did I fail my kid? You know? Like, am I that bad of a parent that my kid did this? Yeah. And there's always that sort of responsibility that you put on yourself. And it's hard to sort of detach from because the kid is doing their own individual action with their own agency.
Yeah.
Right? And sort of not putting that on yourself is so hard because that kid came from you.
Yeah, and I know, like, my parents have dealt with this too, where they're at a point where, like, they were like, well, we always were open with each other and we had these honest conversations. Like, was that not...
Was that not enough?
Did we not say that enough? Or did we not imply that enough?
Yeah.
And then, to me, it's like, oh, like, shit, like, I still consider myself close to my parents. And that moment of breaking trust, it's like a moment of, do we even know you, you know? And then your parents, the thing is, they look at you a little differently, but they're still showing that unconditional love.
Yeah. Like, they're treating you that way because they love you, you know?
Yeah.
It's part of it.
Yeah.
So.
And that's in my personal experience.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I think at the end of the day, you know, I'm just glad I was able to kind of build back the trust and make up for my mistakes.
Yeah. I feel like, because no one's perfect, right?
Yeah.
Kids aren't perfect, parents aren't perfect. And that's important to realize, because parents think that they have to be perfect.
Yeah, because I asked my mom and my dad about the pressure, and they were just like, nah.
No, eh? Yeah.
And they, I don't know, they said that they just, like, knew what they wanted their children to be like. And I too asked my mom, like, what was the hardest thing about parenting, or one of the hardest things, and she was talking about how, this is more so, like, cultural based, but she was talking about how, like, she really wanted to give us values and morals that were from her culture, and she said it was hard to put those in a completely different, like, society, you know?
Facts.
Like, she was talking about how talking back to your elders is considered disrespectful, but we live in a world where, you know, like, not necessarily everyone, like, some people talk back to their elders. Yeah. Because I know I have before.
Yeah, sure.
Just because I don't agree with something, you know? But in her eyes, you know, she's grown up with that. Like, you don't. You don't talk back to your elders, you listen to them, that's considered respect. And if you talk back, then it's disrespect. And she said that it's hard to put those, she wants to bring some of those values in her children, you know? That's part of her culture and all. But she was put in a completely different place.
Yeah. Facts.
And, you know, I would talk to my parents being like, well, my friends don't do this. My friends can do this and this. So it was probably, like, really difficult for her. She thought that was the hardest thing that she had to do. Yeah. Because it was just so... It was challenging, right?
Like the surroundings of the child. Right?
Yeah, because, you know, I'm getting influenced by all these different things, too. Like, people at school, right? So she still had to... She was like, well, I want my kids to have these kinds of values. Yeah. Yeah.
That's fair. Even I also actually want my kids to have, like, many, like, Indian values, like traditional values. So, like, at one point I was like, if I have a kid, I'm gonna just, like, move them to India for, like, the first 5 years.
they'll get
and then, like, first 10 years, something like that. And they're like, okay, so this is how things work here. Yeah. And this is what you're gonna find out. And then when they come here, they're like, wow, Canada's so great. Like,
really higher appreciation.
Yeah, I really appreciate, like, what they have here. Because I feel like so many people take things that are here, like, in the Western society for granted. And there's so many things that are different, and so many things that I really appreciate. Yeah. That I want my kids to appreciate too, and, like, know the value of this, like free healthcare or something like that, you know, stuff like that. But even my parents, my mom, I was, like, saying that she also wanted to instill some of her, like, traditional values, even though she's here. Yeah. Like just respect and just, like,
because it's, like, a part of them, right? Yeah. Like, they grew up like that, and they want their child to have that same idea and belief. Yeah.
And, like, I appreciate many of the values that are here. And
I would want, like, a mix.
I think the mix is really good. It's just hard to find that boundary again, like the balance. Yeah. But yeah.
Yeah, and I think my parents have definitely taken some of, like, you know, Western culture into their parenting style eventually. You know, I wouldn't say they're super, super, like, traditionally Indian in terms of their values and beliefs. Yeah. They've kind of adapted and changed, but they're still, you know, part of their culture and traditions.
Well, you gotta take the good parts of both, you know, and just...
Yeah, but, you know, it's not that easy.
Yeah, I know. But I think, we're getting there, so...
I don't remember what my dad said was the hardest part of parenting for him. You remember?
I think it was something like about how like he had to let you go to school and
Right. Krista's dad said like a similar thing too, right?
yeah, it was something along the lines of like letting your children go to school and like you're not there to watch them and take care of them.
Yeah,
you just have to do
like
things
their
on their
first
own.
day of school.
Yeah.
And
Hard
just
for both of us. The kid and the
yeah,
parent,
yeah. Because especially for me, I had so much trouble making friends as a kid. I would literally start crying. And it was like a whole thing. Like the first day of grade 7, hell. That was the worst day ever for me. And my mom will not forget about that day because she talks about it all the time when she picked me up from school and I was like fine till I got to the car. And then I got in the car and I just like completely broke down, and she's like, I'll never forget what you were saying that day, and you were saying that you were all alone sitting down in the hallway and everyone was just looking at you, blah blah blah. And she's like I'm literally traumatized from that.
Wow.
Because she just hated seeing me like that, and she said she'll never forget it.
Wow.
She'll never forget seeing me like that, and it's just like, whoa.
Yeah, that's wild.
Like, it obviously hurts her, but it makes sense why they'd have that fear, especially for a person like me who was shy at the time and had such a hard time making friends. And it's like, they gotta let you go. Like, I remember Krista's dad was saying, like, letting them leave the nest type of deal.
Yeah.
Even though they're not completely
Spread their
gone,
wings.
but starting to fly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Caw.
Yeah. Yeah, and I honestly didn't really think about that till one of them said it.
Right.
I was like, that is probably really difficult because you're...
letting them go.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Even though they're like coming back home. Like,
Yeah.
after kindergarten, you're gonna pick
But
them
also
up.
the whole other aspect is like moving out and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's what my dad was saying too, stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's wild. That's a wild thing.
Yeah, it's like in Indian weddings when they always cry before the bride leaves. I don't know if you relate to that.
I've seen that.
Yeah. I've seen it in like every wedding picture.
No, but there's also a certain like culture. I don't know if it's in different parts of India, but in South India, there used to be a culture of just giving the bride away to the husband, and like it's not our responsibility anymore. She's yours.
Yeah, like she just moves in with.
Yeah, and it's like there's a whole mindset of like, okay, we're gonna give you these things so you take care of her. Like, yeah, so it's kind of weird.
I guess
I
mean,
kind of like he's the parent now.
No, he's not the parent, but I just like it's almost like you're sort of letting go of your responsibility of being your daughter, and she's yours. Like,
I have a question.
Sure.
Do you think that parenting stops after your kid moves out of the house?
I think it depends on what kind of relationship the kid wants to have with the parent, because at that point
they're an adult.
There's so little you can control.
I also think in Asian cultures it's different compared to like.
I feel like
if you're white.
I feel like my brother, he's an adult and he's moved out.
Yeah.
Or at least for now, right? And because he's in Australia, but he's still asking my dad for advice and stuff. He's still asking my parents for advice, and if he's in a tough spot, he still talks to them. So. Yeah,
there also is that aspect of like, you still have like responsibility. It's almost like you take over some of the responsibility and you take care of your parents.
Yeah.
Like the fact that my grandparents live with me, my dad's parents.
Yeah.
Like he takes care of them. Like they live with us. They don't have to worry about anything. And I feel like especially culturally, that's the whole thing. Like it's an expectation that you don't just move out and like just forget about them. Like you give them whatever. Yeah. And you live with them potentially.
Yeah.
So I feel like there's that expectation almost.
There's responsibility, and my mom was talking about this. She was like, there's a responsibility when you're a parent first, like in Indian culture, that you have to sacrifice everything for your kid. Like in the first couple of 10 years, you gotta give away everything, and you just gotta protect the kid and do what's best for the kid all the time, as a mom or whatever. And then once you're reaching your senior, like elderly life, you expect that same sacrifice back. Yeah. Right? And she was like, I don't necessarily agree with that, because even though you're not supposed to necessarily sacrifice your life for the kid, you need to enjoy your life with the kid. Yeah. Right? And you're supposed to live your life with the kid. Yeah. And don't let yourself go just for your kid.
Yeah.
And
because you can still care for your kid
Yeah.
and still have a good experience like in your own life.
Because
I'm sure.
she's like you only live once, right?
Yeah.
And like you having a kid, but that doesn't mean you need to let go of your own identity,
Yeah.
right? As a person.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And also when you're growing older, there's not necessarily like you can expect certain things, but you can't expect them to sacrifice their entire life and their entire future just for
Yeah,
you.
because the thing was that you sacrificed so much
Yeah.
for your kid to
Yeah.
have a a great
Their
life,
future, yeah.
and then you can't expect them to throw away that great
Yeah.
future for you,
Yeah.
because in that sense it's just kind of unproductive.
Exactly. So it's
And it
like
just doesn't
all
really
this work for nothing, you know?
Yeah.
So, but you expect that because you sacrifice so much.
Yeah.
So there needs to be sort of less sacrifice, you know?
Yeah, just
on
like
both sides.
chill out.
Yeah.
I mean,
But-
yeah, I don't think my parents expect me fully to sacrifice everything
Mhm.
for them.
Mhm.
But I think me personally too, I would just love to, I don't know, get my mom a ticket to India in first class.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
she always wanted that.
Yeah.
So if I was successful enough to
Yeah.
do that,
Yeah.
I will.
Yeah.
Putting it out there right now.
Let's go. Manifestation.
Manifestation.
Mhm.
Yeah, I would do that for her.
Mhm.
But I know she doesn't expect me to like just, throw away everything. Like she told me that she wants me to go everywhere in the world if I want to.
Mm.
Like she'll be like, "Okay, well go."
There you go. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
And I think that's like that's really inspired me too,
Yeah.
because it makes me feel like, oh, like I'm not I can do whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she'll still be there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
That's so
freedom is
awesome.
so powerful and inspiring,
Yeah.
like you said.
I think especially when you have rules, but then as you like, I've seen slowly as I grow up,
Mhm.
they just kind of
Sort of just disappearing.
some of them go away. And I've seen, especially since I turned
Yeah,
18, like
yeah.
I see a different lenience in my
Yeah.
parents, but I have a higher appreciation for it because
Yeah.
now I'm just like, damn, they be trusting me.
Yeah, and I know like not to exploit that. No,
Yeah,
you know?
exactly,
Yeah.
because they trust me this much,
Mhm.
and now I have just a higher appreciation for it.
Yeah. Thanks for watching this first part of our 2-episode journey about parenting.
Yeah, there was definitely a lot to talk about,
Yeah.
and we hope you wait in anticipation for the next one.
Yeah.
Because it's still pretty banger.
It's pretty fun.
Yeah. Please like and subscribe, leave a comment, follow
Reviews.
our Instagram.
Diving deep with us.
Sorry, I completely lost. Our email is divingdeepwithus@gmail.com.
That's our email.
Yeah, I'm really struggling right now.
We're so tired.
We're really
It's
tired.
9:30.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's 9:30.
Yeah, we've been recording for like 4 hours.
Okay. Well, we will see you guys in the next episode with these same outfits and the same topic, but new insights.
Ooh.
Oh!
Yeah. That's right.
See y'all later.
Bye.
Bye!